Hello, everyone, and welcome to Kilowatt, a podcast about electric vehicles, renewable energy, autonomous driving, and much, much more. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. And on today's episode, we are going to cover the news. This is going to be a longer episode, so we'll have to see how quickly I can get through this. If I can get through the news fast enough, then I'll include a short interview that I did at CES. If not, then I'll add an interview to next episode, just because I want to try to keep these, more than 40 minutes, So I'm just not sure how long it's going to take me to run through this. Normally, an episode is about 4 pages, and I've got roughly 5.5 pages. So we'll see what we got here. So let's go ahead and dive in. Ford is extending their Power Promise program. If you remember right, if you buy a Ford F-150 Lightning or Ford Mach-E, you get a free charger included in that purchase, and then Ford will cover most, if not all, of the installation costs of the charger, which is a pretty good deal. It cost me $900, right around that, to run the power for my charger, and then I think the price of the charger was like another $400 on top of that, somewhere around that price range. So if you can save yourself, let's say $1,500 by buying a Ford, why wouldn't you? It's a pretty good deal. Hyundai is providing free NACS adapters so Hyundai owners can use the Supercharger network. It's really interesting that some automakers are giving these adapters away, and then others like Mercedes are charging for them. I would prefer to get my adapter for free, thank you very much, if I was given the choice. But yeah, Hyundai is going to give you a free adapter. It is going to take some time before they get those out to you, but they're available. Hyundai also recently unveiled its newest EV, the Creta electric SUV. There's actually been an ICE version of this vehicle for some time, so it's no surprise that Hyundai would want to build the electric version because it was quite popular from what I understand. And it looks like, just so everybody's aware before we go too much into this, this is only going to be available in India for now. I'm sure it'll roll out to other countries, but it's very unlikely to come to North America, and it's probably unlikely for it to come to Europe as well. But we'll see. As far as the design of this vehicle, it's got some Ioniq series design elements, and it's also got some Kona design elements. It's a nice looking car. Customers will get a choice between a 42 or 51.4 kilowatt hour battery, which for the 42 kilowatt hour battery pack, it'll give you a range of 242 miles or 390 kilometers. And the 51.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, you'll get 294 miles or 473 kilometers. It should be noted that not all countries calculate range the same way, so that number could actually vary. Real world numbers don't necessarily always come through on these range estimates, so just keep that in mind. In terms of charging, the DC fast charging on this, you'll get from 10% to 80% in about 58 minutes. That's not great. But level 2 charging, you'll get from 10% to 100% in 4 hours, which is, not too bad. The Creta supports vehicle to load. So if you're out and about, and maybe you're on a job site or you're camping or whatever, you can power a small radio or maybe a blender or a hot plate or something like that if you would need to do that kind of thing. As far as price goes, you're looking at $12,800 US or 1.1 million Indian rupees. That's for the base price, so that's pretty affordable. And it tops out at 25,000 US, which is 2.1 million Indian rupees. And I'm going to put a link to a YouTube channel, which is Autocar India, and they did a Creta EV review, which I thought was pretty good. It's about 5-6 minutes long. And then just so everybody's aware, because we don't talk about India a whole lot here on this podcast, but about 6% of the Kilowatt community lives in India. So hello to our Indian friends. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Chinese electronics manufacturer and now EV maker Xiaomi. They delivered 135,000 EVs in 2024, which is a very impressive number But it's more impressive when you consider that they didn't even launch their flagship. They didn't even begin deliveries, I should say, of their flagship EV, the SU7, until March 28th of 2024. So they they delivered 135,000 EVs in, basically 8 months. Not too shabby. Their goal for 2025 is to deliver 300,000 EVs. And if they continue at their current pace, I think this goal is totally achievable. Very impressive. And the cars themselves look pretty nice. We talked about Sony and Honda recently taking pre-orders on the Afeela 1. Afeela 1? I always say it wrong. No matter how I say it, it always sounds touchy. And I don't like the way it sounds touchy. Anyway, Sony and Honda's plan is to sell the Afeela 1 direct to consumers. Naturally, Honda's current dealers, they're not very happy about this decision. They would like the opportunity to sell this vehicle as well. Actually, I think they would like the opportunity to sell it exclusively and not have Honda and Sony sell this direct to consumers. So there's definitely a fight on this front. It'll be interesting to see if Honda and Sony win this fight, because typically legacy automakers have stuck largely to dealers to sell their EVs. But this is a completely different company. Even though Honda's involved, it's a completely different company. I'm not sure the dealers can win this one, but then again, they might put enough pressure on Honda where they come to some sort of compromise. Something similar is happening with Scout Motors, because Volkswagen Group has a whole dealer network between Audi and all the other companies, Skoda and the other companies that are under Volkswagen Group. Their dealers would like an opportunity to sell the Scout product as well, but Scout Motors has decided to sell direct to consumer, so we'll keep an eye on this. It is a little bit different when you get a company like a EV manufacturer that's a startup, right? Like Scout Motors is backed by Volkswagen. I wouldn't necessarily call it a startup. There's definitely startup elements when it comes to this company, but they're backed by a very big automotive group. If they run out of money, it's because VW Group decided not to give them any more money. Whereas companies like Tesla back in the day, Lucid, and Rivian, they're a startup. They didn't have those dealer agreements in place, and I think it's a little bit of a different story. So we'll see how this pans out for both of these companies, and we'll definitely keep an eye on it. The 2025 Nissan Aria has a starting price of $39,770. I actually think the Aria is a really nice looking vehicle. I'm not sure the range matches the price though, because you should be able to get for $40,000 at this point in time, we should be able to get a vehicle with over 300-mile range pretty easily for that price point. But it comes with a 66 kilowatt hour battery, which will get you 216 miles of range. That's that base price of $40,000, which, take 80% off of that. We're not doing great in terms of range there. Or you can get a 91 kilowatt hour battery, and that'll get you 289 miles of range for $45,000. So just based on those numbers alone, it looks like Nissan has a long way to go in terms of building efficiency into their vehicle. That does not seem like a very efficient vehicle at all. But you do get access to the Supercharger network with a network adapter, so that's good. But if you're looking to buy an EV and you have a $45,000 target in terms of price, you might just check out the Nissan Aria just because you might like it. Not everybody needs 300 miles of range. Maybe it will be a vehicle that fits most, if not all, of your needs. So it's worth looking at. All right, that brings us to our final EV story in this segment. Volkswagen has fixed an issue with the ID.4 where water could leak around the door handles and cause water damage on the circuit board. And that that this circuit board controls the door, and that might lead to the door opening unexpectedly. That is not what you want when you're traveling down the road and you got kids in the back. Really, you don't want that to happen to anybody in the vehicle, but the first thing when I read this was kids in the back seat, and I was like, ugh, that's nerve-wracking. Anyway, they have fixed the issue. They did have to halt production until the vehicle was fixed, and during that time, 200 workers were furloughed until they could identify what the issue was, what the fix was going to be, and then actually fix the issue. So it sounds like everybody's back to work now, which is good news for sure. The cars affected include model years from 2021 to 2024, and that's about 100,000 vehicles. If you have one of these vehicles, and I know some people in our audience do, you can expect a recall notification soon. And then just in time for this story, Volkswagen is advertising a new lease deal for the ID.4. So this is a 24-month lease. You're going to get 20,000 miles for the term of the lease for your mileage allowance. It is $999 down, and then you got to pay tax, title, and licensing fees. And depending on where you live, that could be an extra couple $1,000s, but $99 down, and then whatever that tax, title, and licensing costs you. And then you are looking at $149 a month. And I've seen the effective price on this vehicle, which is, if you include hypothetically those fees with the $99 down and the tax, you're looking at about $180 roughly a month effective cost. So not a bad deal if you are open to leasing. All right, everybody, that is it for our EV news. I do want to let you know we have a Patreon and an Acast Plus if you want to support this show. None of the money goes into my own pocket. All the money goes back into the show to make it better. I'm about to buy a new microphone. I don't know if you heard, I went to CES. Very, very happy about that. But the money that allows me to do those things is from the Patreon and Acast Plus members, as well as the ad revenue. In terms of, does this show make money? Technically, it makes money. But all the money goes back into the show. Like, I'm not using any of this money for my living expenses. I'm using it just for the show. So if you're interested, there's 2 ways to support the show. Really, there's 3. You can support the show monetarily. So you can go to patreon.com/kilowatt, or you can go to the Acast Plus link in the show notes, and you can sign up. And for as little as $1, the ads go away. If you don't mind listening to the ads, if you listen to the ads, that's great because I get some money from that. And like I said, all that money goes back into the show anyway. So you're giving me your time, and I'm able to turn that into a few pennies. And then the third way you could support the show, and anybody can do this, whether you're a Patreon supporter or you listen to the ad feed, recommend the show to somebody. I'm trying to grow the show. By the end of 2025, I have a specific number in mind, but I'd like to hit that number, and that's going to require me to get outside of my comfort zone and do things that I'm not necessarily comfortable doing to promote this show, because as a rule, I'm very shy. But one of those things that I'm not comfortable doing is asking you for a favor, and if you could just recommend the show to somebody you think would like it, I would really appreciate that. Okie doke, let's jump into our Tesla news. Tesla received 50,000 orders for the updated Model Y on the very first day, the first 24 hours. So that seems like a pretty good number. This is according to Electrek, and that is about a month's worth of production for Giga China. Right now, it's only being built in China, with deliveries expected to start in March, pending regulatory approval. But Giga China also builds EVs for other countries. So it's highly possible that if you live, in the Philippines, you could get a Model Y before we get one here in the United States, an updated Model Y. And actually, that's our next story, because customers who live in the Philippines who have already ordered a Model Y will automatically get upgraded to the newer model when deliveries start. So this is according to a Tesla salesperson in the Philippines. They actually took a picture of a sign in a Tesla showroom, so it's not like it's on hearsay. They're actually posting this. And the showroom sign basically says this, and I'm paraphrasing some of this, but orders are going to be automatically upgraded to the newest version of the Model Y. So that's good news. If someone pre-ordered the deep blue metallic paint, then they're automatically going to get upgraded to the glacier blue paint for free because the deep blue metallic will no longer be available. I think the glacier blue is a very pretty color. So that's actually, for me, that's a bonus. I don't know if it's a bonus for everybody. But if you don't like that, customers can make a one-time modification in terms of the variant of the vehicle that they're purchasing or color of the vehicle that they're purchasing by January 17th, 2025. And they can do that for free. So that's kind of a good thing that Tesla's doing there. And these customers can expect to take delivery in April. So that's exciting news. And I have one final Model Y update or new Model Y update. According to a report from the German newspaper Handelsblatt, Tesla is starting production on the new Model Y variant today in Giga Berlin. I haven't seen anything else reporting that, so we'll have to keep our eyes open. But if that's true, good news for the folks in Europe. All right, let's see. Our next story comes from notateslaapp.com, which is a really good resource. If you're not reading Not a Tesla App, you should. I would highly recommend it. You can now order parts for your Tesla directly from Tesla. And I'm not just talking about simple things that are easy to replace, like wheel covers. I'm talking about like actual parts. So here are the things that you can do. You can subscribe to Tesla's diagnostic software, which will give you vehicle information. You'll be able to execute commands. You can place the vehicle in service mode, access to the knowledge base. If you pay for 1 day of this service, it's $75. If you pay for 1 month, it's $150. And if you pay for 1 year at a time, it's $700. And if you're an auto shop and you have, I don't know, let's say 6 or more than 10 employees that you want to have access to this, you can call Tesla and you can actually, they have cheaper prices if you have over 10 employees at $700 a piece. So not a bad deal. You also get access to service manuals. You can search for recalls. Just enter your VIN number. By the way, I have no recalls on my Tesla. You could order tools. So if you have to, for instance, I don't know, replace a headrest, because I have a headrest that is stuck and I can't remove it. There's a headrest removal tool that you look it up in the Tesla parts catalog, and then it takes you to a third-party site to purchase it. And it's like $4. Not a bad price. And then in terms of parts, you can search what part you're looking for based on like high voltage system, seats, low voltage system. There's just a lot of different things that you can pick up inside the actual parts catalog. And when you do that, it shows you kind of like this little CAD drawing with a number by it. So when I looked up the seats, I saw my headrest. My headrest was labeled number 6. I go down in the parts catalog to number 6. There's a headrest. It's $190. So not a bad deal if you're one of those folks that can actually repair your own car. I think this is a really good step in the right direction because for a while there, it was looking like Tesla was very anti-right to repair. And while it's unlikely that I will ever do a repair on this vehicle myself, just because I don't have those skills and I'd be more terrified of messing it up and paying more money than what I would need to get it fixed because of my screw-ups, I do think when you purchase a product like a phone or a car or a television or a computer, you have the right to repair that product. And you shouldn't be beholden to the manufacturer and whatever prices they're going to charge to get it repaired. So step in the right directions for sure. There's a few caveats here. There are no Cybertruck parts at the moment. I'm sure there will be at some point in time. And then shipping is only available in the United States, but I would imagine it won't be too long before this extends to other countries. But right now it's just here in the US. All right, we have some Cybertruck news here. The single motor rear wheel drive Cybertruck now qualifies for the full $7,500 IRA tax credit, which is great. We'll see what happens to this tax credit after President Trump takes office, because he has said in the past that he's going to get rid of it. So if you want a rear wheel drive Cybertruck, now's the time if you want that $7,500 tax credit. And by the way, I'll put a link to the show notes if you want to look at all the vehicles that qualify, I guess, for the $7,500 tax credit. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. It goes to fueleconomy.gov. And there are a few additional vehicles that have been added to that list in 2025. So take a peek if you're interested in such things. And that brings us to our next Cybertruck story. A Cybertruck caught fire in Georgia. So this Cybertruck caught fire in Georgia. This happened just outside of a Tesla store in the parking lot. We talked not that long ago about Tesla having some issues with cell dent in some of the Cybertruck battery cells, and they were shipping those vehicles back to Texas to be repaired. I don't know if this is one of those trucks affected, but according to the article, authorities think the battery was the cause of the fire. Before we pass judgment here, I think we should wait until the investigation has been completed and we get the report, because whether or not the battery pack was involved at this point, we just don't know. You can think that it's involved because, maybe you saw fire coming from the area of the battery or whatever. I don't, being a firefighter for as long as I've been, things are rarely as they appear in the media. So I'm a little cautious in just accepting the fact that this was a battery fire. Totally could have been, but I'm not just going to accept that. And I don't think you should either. I do have thoughts on this fire based on how the article was written, but until we get the official report, I'm not going to share those because it would just be me speculating. When we get the official report, I will tell you what my thoughts were, but as of right now, I just don't think there's any value in it, and I'm just speculating like everybody else is. Let's go ahead and move on to our next Cybertruck story. In December, Tesla asks some Cybertruck production workers to voluntarily move from the Cybertruck production line to the Model Y production lines. Turns out not enough people volunteered to make the switch, so Tesla had to force some people to switch production lines from Cybertruck to Model Y. This comes from a leaked memo to employees. I do find this interesting, and I tell you that story so I can now tell you this story. Tesla has paused some Cybertruck deliveries to prioritize relief efforts for the fires in Los Angeles, or in the Los Angeles area of Southern California. Elon tweeted out that they were going to pause deliveries, so if you were expecting to get your Cybertruck delivered in the near future, that could be delayed because Tesla is going to use some of these Cybertrucks as mobile stations to provide power to Starlink internet terminals in different areas around LA that don't have internet connectivity. So basically, it gives people who are living in those areas like a Wi-Fi hotspot that they could gain access to, which I think is a good thing. They're positioning the Cybertrucks in a grid pattern, and again, they're going to provide free Wi-Fi. Now, I think this is great. And if I was expecting a Cybertruck delivery, I'd be a little bit disappointed, but I'd be happy that Tesla was doing some good with what they have. And then those Cybertrucks might be sold for a reduced price some other point in time because now they're used or whatever. But if Tesla's moving employees from the Cybertruck production line to the Model Y production line, and I wonder if they're really pausing any deliveries, or if this is just Elon being his carnival barker self. And all this is doing is generating a headline that reflects well on Tesla. And maybe this is true, maybe it's not. I do find it interesting that we're hearing all of these stories how Cybertruck demand is not what Tesla thought it was going to be, and how Tesla has all of these foundation series that they can't sell. And as a matter of fact, there was even one article that I didn't even bring up a couple weeks ago where it said that they were buffing off the foundation series badging and shipping some of these vehicles to Canada. So I don't know if any of this is true, but I just find it interesting. Having said that, I applaud Tesla's efforts to help out in this regard. Tesla's also covering housing and supporting Tesla employees who were impacted by the fire. So that includes, a temporary place to stay. That includes food. If they need transportation, Tesla's helping them out with that, which I think is a great thing to do for your employees. We talked a few weeks ago about Tesla having these trailers with megapacks and additional superchargers on them to help with the increased travel over the holidays. Well, Tesla is deploying 2 of those mobile megapack chargers in the Thousand Oaks area to help with the evacuation, and then also families who have lost power. They can go and power up their devices at these charging stations, whether it's a phone or cell phone or whatever, or a portable battery pack. They can get free internet access through Starlink, so that's a good thing. And connected to these mega pack charging stations is 16 supercharger stalls, and Tesla's allowing charging for all EVs. So it's not just Teslas, all EVs are welcome at the stations. And Tesla said they'll continue to deploy these charging stations where they're going to be helpful. Tesla also deployed 1 megapack at the Altadena Sheriff Station, and that's to provide power and Starlink connectivity for first responders, which is a good thing for them to do. They've deployed mobile Powerwall units in Altadena and Topanga Canyon. And again, this is to help with people who need access to internet through Starlink and then, charge and power their devices. Again, this isn't everything that they're doing. It's just a few of the things. I think I'm fair when I cover Tesla, but I am also, in being fair, I'm also critical of some of the things that Tesla and Elon does. I think this is something that Tesla's pretty good at whenever it comes down to these kind of emergencies. In the past, like when the Florida was on fire, they opened up some of the Model S's that were software locked so people could get more range temporarily. They've made supercharging free at times so that people can charge their car and not worry about money. They can just get to where they need to be. So this isn't new for Tesla to do, but I think it's important to call out when they do it because this is the kind of thing I like to see from the company for sure. All right, let's talk a little bit about the California fires. I don't have a lot to say. If you are in California and you're not looking at the app Watch Duty, you should definitely do that. They talk a lot about it on the Daily Tech News Show. I had not heard about it until Tom Merritt asked me what I thought of the program. After looking into it, I think it's a legit service that you can trust. You can also get reliable information from Cal Fire's website. And in addition to that, you can get Los Angeles Fire Department's website as well. It'll show you updates of where the fire is, how much is contained, good information, good, reliable information. Now, I'm going to be a little critical here because there's something that bothers me a lot when these kind of things happen. People start pointing fingers at one another and, political parties start attacking one another. I don't like this. And both major political parties are just as guilty in my eyes of doing this, and it sucks. Now, having said that, I'm not saying you can't be critical of decisions made by government leaders. I absolutely think you should be critical of their decisions, but there's a right way and a wrong way of doing this. Scoring political points just to score political points in an emergency is gross, and any politician or any person who does this should be ashamed of themselves. It's not the thing to do. We shouldn't be happy that someone's house burned down just because we don't like them, because somebody that you may have liked, their house right next door burned down. This is not a thing that is us against them. This is us. There's no them. This is only us. Now, having said that, I do think there is an appropriate time to be critical of decisions that government leaders make prior to these big emergencies happening. But there's a process for this. It doesn't, it's not just ding-dongs like myself making a value judgment or a judgment and pointing fingers and being hyperbolic. There's actually a process for after action reports to say, what did we do right? What did we do wrong? What could we have done better? It's not going to come out immediately after the fires are out. This is going to be out a year or two down the road. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be sorted through. So I'm going to stop talking. Thank you for listening to me rant. I'm going to go ahead and tack on an interview that I did with Savant. I think I talked to these folks at PepCom, which was a media event at CES, and they have an interesting breaker system, like a smart breaker system that's compatible with most breaker boxes. So let's go ahead and listen to that interview. And as soon as the interview's done, I'm just going to go straight to music because I'm still feeling really preachy. So rather than you have to hear me talk more about this stuff, I will simply just go to music. All right, I'm here with Ian Roberts with Savant. Ian, do you want to describe what Savant is?
Yeah, Savant's a smart home technology company. So we make many of those experiences in your home smarter, smart lighting, smart entertainment, so your audio and video and the music that you like to listen to. But here at the show, we're focusing on our smart power technology.
Okay, so what we have here, we're at PepCom. We have what looks like an electrical box with some really fancy breakers in it. You wanted to talk about those?
Yeah, so this is a standard electrical panel. So think about your electrical panel that you have at home. We make smart panel technology that can go into your panel and make your circuit smart. And so what does it make smart? We can allow you to monitor your energy as well as choose what is powered in your home throughout the day so that you can save money on your utility bills and be energy efficient.
Okay, and these have, you're telling me they have another use, and you could just put these pop them into any electrical panel, correct?
Yeah, so all those major brands, so Schneider, Siemens, GE, Eaton, whatever you have on the wall, we make a version of our power module that likely installs into that panel.
Okay, and then that brings us to some of the coolest things that you could do if you want to, I don't know, run an EV charger from your house, for instance.
Yeah, so bringing home a new EV is great, lots of excitement around that, but then when you find out that you don't have enough electricity to charge that EV, that's where you get hung up. So what we're able to do is use our smart panel technology to allow you to power more things in your house without having to engage in an electrical service upgrade with your utilities. So
yeah, and that service upgrade is significant. So anybody who's gone through it knows, I mean, you could easily spend $7,000 to upgrade your service.
Yeah, it can be a ton more than you expect, 5, 10, even 20,000. If the utility has to bring new lines under the road, guess what? That's adding to the bill as well.
All right, so in this case, let's pretend we have one of those electrical boxes that we don't want to upgrade. We want to save some money. How does your smart breakers, how do they help us with that?
Yeah, so it starts at a more modest price point. So instead of getting that utility service upgrade, our solution starts around $1,500 to get started. But what that allows you to do is sequence between a few of the available circuits. Maybe it's choosing your range and your EV charger, which one needs power, in that moment. You can choose where to send your available energy.
Okay, so obviously I'm not coming up with this on my own. You told me, so I'm just regurgitating it back. But
yeah.
If you are at home and you are cooking and you're running the dryer, not a good time to charge your EV if you don't have the power, right? But if at nighttime you're drying your clothes, but you're not cooking food at 2:00 in the morning typically, so you can turn or move the power. How are you doing this?
Yeah, so. Our smart power modules, when they go inside the electrical panel, they're able to turn on and off power going to those circuits. So what we're able to do is say, you know what? Let's not send power to the range, to the new electric range. Let's send it instead to our car charger so that our car can be charged the next morning. And we can automate that for you. So it doesn't have to be a whole burden for you to be jockeying back and forth between what's powered. Maybe automatically at midnight, your car starts charging. And then at 8 a.m. the next morning, we send that power back towards your appliances so that you can cook, clean, maybe charge hot water, and enjoy everything else that you need in the home throughout the day.
Okay, and you also have an app. Do you want to talk about the app?
Yeah, so the Savant app, it pulls together all of the technology in the home. So as I mentioned before, if you've got smart lighting or smart climate, smart thermostat, all of those different services show up in the same app. Makes it really easy for you to get in touch with how your home works. And that's where we show you what energy you're consuming, We integrate with home batteries as well. So we make a home battery storage that could back up your whole house. If you lost power, it could run the house, but it can also store solar energy if you have solar on your house and power your house all night too. So we really touch every aspect of technology in the home.
And I would imagine that when if you do have to run off home backup, you can just turn off everything that's non-essential and save yourself a ton of phantom drain.
Yeah, that's a really cool application for our smart panel tech in that, we can turn off those non-essentials. So we could take your battery that maybe lasts 10, 20 hours and double that. Wouldn't it be great if you could last twice as long in a power outage just because you weren't sending power and wasting it on things that you don't need in that moment?
Right on. Is there anything else, Ian, that I should have asked you that I didn't?
I would say if you're interested in learning more, you can hit up Savant.com. All of our solutions across the home, from power to entertainment to lifestyle, you'll see there. And check out how we can help you engage in electrification, get that new electric appliance, bring home that new EV, and make it happen on your existing electrical service.
And you said that your starting package is at $1,500.
$1,500 is the great starting point, and then adding on circuits beyond that, very economical. Starts at $60 per circuit for you to add more energy efficiency to the home, even to the full panel's extent.
And when the electrician comes in, because you shouldn't be changing these on your own, when the electrician comes in to change these out, do they need to know anything special?
It's a really simple install. The modules install in the same panel that they're installing breakers in. So it's no learning curve. They're able to do it very easily and get the system off the ground.
All right, Ian, thank you very much.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
That's great.